Hello, in this Affinity Publisher tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can create a drop shadow with your text in two different ways. So I've got two words that are identical here. Let's go ahead and zoom in on them so we can see them really well. So I'm going to start with this top one, and the easiest way to create a drop shadow is to select your object. So I've created this text with the Artistic Text tool, and I have this layer selected. You can also just click on the word so that the bounding box comes up. And then in your layers panel, at the very bottom, you can go to the words FX. So that when you hover on it, says Layer Effects, and you can just click it. Another way to get to that is to go up to the Layer menu and scroll all the way to the bottom to Layer Effects. From here, we can just click on this box that says Outer Shadow. And now we can manipulate some settings. So I think probably the easiest thing to do is to turn up the intensity a bit and then turn up the offset, and that will show us our shadow. From there, we can work on the radius, which will blur it a little bit. And we can also mess with the opacity to make it a little bit more subtle. And so now it has that look like the text is popping off. So now that I've done that, now I'm going to bring the offset back down until it looks a little bit more natural. And if you wanted to, I'm going to just turn it up again so we can see it better. You can change which direction the light is coming from. A lot of drop shadows are default to this kind of lower right, so the light is coming from up here and shining this direction. But you can change that. Sometimes you might want to have it straight down, but most of the time it's like this. All right, now we can turn this back down, make it look a little bit more natural, and that is method number one. That is going to be your simplest method. The second way to do that is to duplicate our layer. So I'm going to Command or Control J, depending if you're on a Mac or a PC. And that gives us a second version of it. So I'm going to leave the top one alone, and the layer underneath it I am going to work on. So the first thing I'm going to do is go back to this Layer Effects again. And this time I want to click on, I'm not sure if it's Gaussian or Gaussian, I've heard it both ways. And then we're going to turn that up. And so that is going to blur our lower level of text. And actually I'm going to click on this Scale with Object too. That way if we resize our text, our shadow will scale as well. So let's make it blurry like that. And then what I'm going to do now, let's just get this out of the way, is I'm just going to take that with my mouse, we'll go to the Move tool here, and just manually drag it to where I want it. If I want it to be not so harsh, I can take the opacity of the entire layer down until it looks a little bit more realistic. And I think there's too much blur on this, so let's just turn it down just a little bit. Something like that. So why would you want to do this instead of just using a layer effect like we did in the first example? Well, there might be a few extra things that you can do with it if you leave this as its own layer. And so I want to highlight one cool thing that you can do. So I still have my shadowed layer selected here. I'm going to go over to this tool, the wine glass, that's the transparency tool, and click on that. And then I'm going to pick a spot down here, click my mouse, and then drag up, and you'll see that it kind of fades it out. So that might be kind of an interesting little effect that you can add to your shadows. So it's just a little different level of interest than a typical drop shadow like you see on the top. All right, so that's how you create drop shadows in two different ways in Affinity Publisher. Thanks for watching.